The UN is again sounding alarm bells over the humanitarian crisis in Syria. The world body saying today that airstrikes by the Syrian regime and its allies on the northwestern Idlib province have displaced over 400,000 people in the past 3 months alone. The UN's Humanitarian Affairs Agency said the majority of people who were displaced are from the southern Idlib and northern Hama, the two areas that have been hit hardest by the strikes. British War Monitor, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, said more than 730 civilians have been killed in airstrikes since late April. And according to the UN, at least 39 medical facilities and 50 schools in the region were damaged by the strikes. Joining me now in Casablanca in Morocco, Ahmed Benchemsi, a Middle East and North Africa Advocacy and Communications Director for Human Rights Watch. Thank you so much for being with us this hour to try to make more sense of this situation. What can human rights organizations do in light of these dire circumstances in Syria?
Well, we can keep documenting the violations and ringing the alarm because the situation is getting less and less under control. I mean, since late April, Idlib, which is the last anti-government area in Syria, has been under an offensive, an intense offensive by the Syrian and Russian military alliance. In almost 3 months, according to a Syrian NGO, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, the airstrikes killed about 740 civilians, including about 200 children. So the situation is really, really serious. And as we have documented, the offensive has been characterized by the use of prohibited weapons, including cluster munitions, barrel bombs, incendiary weapons, all weapons that are prohibited by international treaties. Some of those are inherently discriminate, and therefore they're unlawful because when they're dropped on a village, they cannot distinguish between combatants and civilians. So this means that Syria and Russia, while they claim they are targeting terrorists, in fact, they use such weapons to target civilians. And the offensive has also targeted protected infrastructure, including hospitals, schools, markets, and homes. So despite UN effort for deconflictions, how they call it, the situation has become really tragic.
Ahmed, put things in context for us over the reasons that people move around the country so much, or even to Turkey, whose border with Syria is closed.
Well, the area that I'm talking about is home to more than 3 million civilians, half of whom have already been displaced at least once. Now, close to 500,000 of those have been displaced, and many are only temporarily displaced without the resources to make their way somewhere safer. So Turkey is obviously the last safe remaining place in the area. And the problem is that Turkey has maintained a closed border with Turkish border guards shooting at anyone trying to cross the border and deporting those they find almost immediately without any reference to their safety in Syria. I mean, according to international rights, they have the obligation to at least hear the asylum claim of the people who are knocking at the door and let them in, if only a few meters, just to process their asylum claims. What they're doing is they're shooting them or pushing them away without even listening to their story. That is a violation, and they should allow them in because the situation is tragic and the civilians is in a situation of panic, which is very understandable.